He is Jim Owczarski, Bucks beat reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Look at him is that O'Hare International Airport? I sense in the background, Jim. What a day for you!
It is. I am en route to Boston.
Yes.
O'Hare International Airport. It is.
The Milwaukee Bucks also en route to Boston. We'll talk about some of their recent play, but one of the guys who will be there and presumably on the court, as you reported on Thursday at jsonline.com, is Khris Middleton. It's time. He made it before Christmas, an early Christmas gift. He is going to be back. He's going to return to the floor. I would say not a moment too soon, but actually at this point, the Bucks were probably in a pretty good place, having won 7 in a row prior to a loss to the Hawks on Wednesday night. What was it that kind of was the threshold that Khris Middleton needed to reach to get to this point where he is able to finally play? How much do you expect him to play? Will he play in back-to-backs? I want to know all of it, Jim. Lay it out for me.
We'll talk to Khris. I'm guessing shoot around, tomorrow morning in Boston, assuming he's, fully cleared and maybe it's pregame. But I think through it all, JR, Khris needed, to me, it was always the how do you feel after a 5-on-5, not just the next day, but even the day after. Like, can you stack workouts? Can you stack training? And I guess what I mean by that, JR, is you mentioned back-to-backs. Like the Bucks, look, there's 61 games left in this season. They've got, I think, 11 more back-to-backs. I'm not saying Khris is going to play in all of those, but he might play in 1 or 2. Sure. They play 4 and 6 this stretch. So basically what I'm getting at is I think it's one thing to go through a workout and then feel okay the next morning, the next afternoon, but that's not the reality of an NBA schedule. It's, can you then turn around and play again within 30 hours? And I think for Khris, that was the frustrating thing when I talked to him, at his charity event just a few days ago, JR, is what he sort of impressed was like, yeah, I'm cleared to get on the court and run around and play basketball, but there's more to it than that. And it's kind of hard to gain sympathy. I don't think he was looking for that by any means, JR, but I think that's what the delay was, if you will. I mean, the guy did have 2 ankle surgeries. Like, this isn't just, kind of a run of the mill rehab. So I think that's what got us to this point now. Back-to-backs, minute restrictions. I'm sure he'll say what Khris always says, which is not up to me. I'll leave that to the coaches and to medical. And then Doc Rivers will say, not up to me. And we'll never hear from Troy Flanagan or why they do what they do. But my guess is, he's not going to play 30 minutes Friday. Whether that's the 15-16 we saw a couple years ago when he came back. I think that was from the wrist. To the 25, I think, when he came back from a knee. We'll see. But I think the key thing is there's now 60-plus games, JR, 60 games for him to work this in with Dame and Giannis and the rest of the group.
And speaking of what we've seen from Dame and Giannis, it has been a good stretch here. I feel like you could throw out the second game of a back-to-back against a pretty solid Hawks team. Jalen Johnson, by the way, Nicolet High School / Sun Prairie High School / Wausau-born Wisconsinite. Jalen Johnson having quite the year for the Hawks, and we can talk about that some other time. But they obviously have figured something out. There is an easier schedule, so that's part of it. But they did end up go ahead and win their pool in the NBA Cup. Very exciting stuff. I actually kind of, maybe we'll ask about that in a second. But what is it that we've seen? Is it purely they were always this good, and it just, like, a couple things just weren't going their way? It just, Gary Trent wasn't firing on all cylinders. A lot of the peripheral guys weren't firing on all cylinders, and now they're kind of up to speed. Or were there some conscious changes that have enabled them to sort of rattle off a bunch of wins and get right back into the thick of the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, JR, I think it's a little bit of everything. We talked in earlier PFPs that the variance was not on their side early on, like Connaughton, Trent, Lopez, Lillard, Portis, all were shooting well below their career averages. That wasn't going to keep going, right? And we've seen, obviously, in the last month, all of those guys now start to get to their career averages, if not a little bit above, which for Gary Trent. I think he was like around 43% from three, which is actually a tick up. And that's usually the Giannis effect of shooting guards who come to Milwaukee as it goes up a little bit. So some of it is just variance and coming back to its sample size, all the things no one likes to talk about. But there were conscious changes. I mean, from Trent being demoted from the starting lineup to a bench role
DeLon
to
Wright,
Andre Jackson. Yeah, DeLon Wright was benched, came back. AJ Green, it's easy to forget, was sort of benched for a couple games. Now he's a rotation player. Pat Connaughton is now benched. The defense, they switch more, JR. I think having Andre start games has been good. We'll see when. I don't think that affects with Khris. I think we're going to see Taurean Prince probably slide to the bench now, JR, and is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league to date.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a little bit of conscious choices of personnel plus some defensive scheme stuff plus variance. And then you started with Dame and Giannis. That pair has clicked. And it's funny now, JR, you mentioned, an off night in Atlanta where Giannis had 30, 11, and 5, and Dame had 25 and 5. And that was a down game for those two. It just shows how well they've been playing the last month. And I don't see that changing at all going forward.
Real quickly, if you could select one Bucks player to make a 3-point shot to win you $1 million, are you going with AJ Green or Taurean Prince?
Those aren't the two I would pick, but
I'm going to say Damian Lillard. Gosh.
I mean, it was so. But if you're going to ask me of the two, I'd probably say AJ Green.
Nice.
If Taurean listens to this, he'll be like, "What about my 53%, bro?"
56%, Jim. Let's not shortchange the man.
Yeah, it's funny. When he shoots and they go in, I've turned to press row and I say, I know that he has missed a 3-pointer this year, but it's still somewhat shocking when those don't go in, even from AJ Green. Go 2 for 11 against the Hawks is like stunning. Taurean Prince, I mean, what an addition and what a pillar for this Buck. He's played every game. He has started every game. He has been there offensively, defensively, and JR, I think it just shows that when Khris is full capacity and Taurean is now filling in, I mean, the bench is only better. Those units are only better. Taurean Prince. I don't know if he wants any 3-point contest momentum like Malik Beasley from a year ago. We'll have to see. I think they need to win a few more games before those guys are willing to get into that kind of fun stuff. But he's been great.
45 of 81 from 3-point range. Kind of notably, as I look at these stats, Giannis with only 14 3-point makes. I knew it was down, but man, way down this year from Giannis.
Focusing on mid-range is up.
I know mid-range kicking butt. So there's where those shots are going, which is very impressive. Giannis, the highest scoring average of his career by far this season. And I'm going to touch on that in just a minute. But quickly, the NBA Cup, second year of it. We had the novelty last year. This year, I don't really know what we have with it. The Bucks, once again, second year in a row, they swept through the 4 games they needed to sweep through to get to the quarterfinal stage. They'll be playing the Magic at home on Tuesday. What are the vibes around this? Is this meaningful to them? Is it just another game? Like, how would you describe it, especially in light of how they did last year?
Yeah, Milwaukee Bucks, most dominant playoff pool team in NBA history. JR.
Number one, baby. Number one.
8-0, 2 straight, 4-0. Number 1 seeds, which
eat your heart out, Celtics, Nuggets. Right? You got nothing on this.
Look, last year this time under Adrian Griffin, they were rolling to a 31-13 record, and it was the talk. JR was really just, hey, the young guys can maybe make some extra money. We can make an extra $500,000. Like, cool. Like, first thing ever. Why not win it? I think LeBron James took that to the nth degree, JR, of the league's all-time leading scorer was like, well, here's this new thing that I can win. Yeah. And so LeBron, I think, really wanting it trickled down to the rest of the players saying, oh, like, we should care about this.
Sure.
This year, it was interesting. Like, the Bucks were 2-8 when they played Toronto in the first Cup game. And even Brooke Lopez was like, I don't know what the talking points are. We just want to win a game. Look, they are 4-0. They do want to get to Vegas. Don't get me wrong. It's 27 degrees outside. They would like to be in Las Vegas for a week. They would all like to win $500,000. Torian Prince got that check last year with the Lakers. He really liked it. So I think all of that is real. I think for the Bucks, though, JR, like, if they get to Vegas and win it, what we'll see is the Giannis MVP conversation turn up because it's a captive national audience that thought he was going to get traded a month ago. There'll be a captive national audience that sees that the two-man game with Dame is working, which for some reason right now the thought is that it's not still. And then if they win it or lose in the final, it'll be like, oh, like the Bucks are back. They figured it out. I think for them, like Peter Fagan told me last year, JR, they will raise a banner. It is a trophy. It is a championship to win. But their goals are much bigger. I think like they play the Magic on Tuesday, JR. The Hawks are playing the Knicks. Oklahoma City's in this. I think teams like that, I mean, they haven't won anything. Like literally, those three franchises have won nothing. They've nothing. So, that would be big for them. And you look at the Pacers a year ago, JR, that ran to the final Eastern Conference Finals. Like I think it matters to franchises like that. I think for the Bucks, it would mean something. It would show that they've really improved from a 2-8 start. But it's, clearly the end goal is June, not December.
All right, you said it. You spoke it into existence, so we're on it now. Quarter of the season's over. Let's talk MVP. We have to. I don't know where. I don't get the sense Giannis is anywhere near it. Again, same as in previous years. But he's averaging 32.6 points per game as we sit here talking about this. That is easily the highest mark in his career. He is still averaging a double-double, 11.6 rebounds. Very impressive. His continued trend of increasing his assists every year has continued. This is his highest assist account of his career at 6.6 per game. He is shooting the ball better than he ever has before. He is at 61.6%. Man, he's going to turn 30 years old as we record this tomorrow. He's going to turn 30 on Friday. We are finally in the 30s era of Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's incredible what he's accomplished. But, Nikola Jokic is still kind of the guy right now. And I'm scratching my head a little bit, not because I don't think, Jokic is phenomenal. I don't know why Giannis isn't already being given some of this cred, because the Bucks have willed themselves back into relevance. Giannis is obviously at the forefront of that. He is playing as well as he ever has again. Gets no love, Jim. I don't know what it is, man. Guys on teams that are in the middle get love. It's not specifically a standings issue. So what in the world is happening here?
It's a great question. This goes back to the beginning of the year stuff. They're 1-6, they're 2-8, and suddenly, he wants out or the Bucks want to trade him. Like that's the conversation, which wasn't ever a real thing. And it was sort of like, and then it turned into, well, the Bucks barely beat Toronto and Detroit, and look at what Giannis has to do for them to win, as sort of as a negative, where in Denver, it's, well, look what Joker does and the Nuggets win. Like the tone is so different. It's so wild. I don't really understand it. I mean, Jokic is clearly an all-time great.
Sure.
Like it's possible that multiple all-time greats play in the same eras. It literally happens every era.
Absolutely.
How you're right though. The conversation is very weird for a guy who, JR, you remember this, he wins back-to-back MVPs, and then it was, well, he can never win another one unless they win a title. They win the title, and then it's almost like, well, right?
The MVP's dried up from there.
Whereas, like, for Joker, he won a couple. It's like, oh, he's got to win the title. They win the title. It's like he could,
the next one.
I don't understand it. To me, I think Jason Tatum and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are victims of their team success.
Agreed.
I'm not saying they're not great players and they won't be in the top 5, but when this is all said and done, the raw counting numbers are going to be pretty insane. some of the efficiency numbers that maybe Giannis slipped in for a Jokic, I think are evening out. And I think Giannis is back to playing all defensive team level defense. Let's be honest, JR. He fell off those teams for a reason the last couple of years. And so, like, when you start to bring in the whole game, to me, when this is all said and done, I think it's going to be hard to ignore him. But, I don't know. I mean, he came in, JR. The preseason GM poll had, like, GMs picking him, like, the 5th best player in the league. And I said, to me, that was no greater example of just because you have that job doesn't mean you should have that job. Like, if you're the primary talent evaluator on an NBA team and, like, he's 5th or 6th on your list, like, if I'm an owner, I'm like, who did you vote for? It's like, because I don't know if I want you running my team. So yeah, he should be in the mix. I think clearly though, JR, early on, 2-8 start. What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
Like, and now they're a 500-ish team. Beat the Celtics, win the cup. You do a couple things here, just in 10-day period, JR. You got the Cavs right after that in Cleveland. I mean, I'm just saying you win a couple of those games, you win. I mean, suddenly this conversation is way different, I think, when we record this around Christmas time.
Yeah. Well, he'll get a head-to-head with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the NBA Emirates Cup championship game, and then we'll see how it goes. Just give me some rapid-fire stuff, whatever you're thinking. I know you got to get on an airplane very soon. What else has jumped out to you here in the last week plus?
I am interested. AJ Green is having the opposite of effect on defense than Andre Jackson, meaning Jackson Jr. started the year averaging like 6.5 fouls per 36 minutes. Not great. Mm-hmm. I think AJ Green has, not only did he foul out the other night, he's averaging like 5+ fouls. Not sure what's going on there. Doc has said there's a little bit of poor defense, but I wonder if AJ's now experiencing, wait a minute, you're guarding this guy, you're AJ Green, you should not get that whistle. So that's standing out. I mean, you don't want AJ having foul trouble, particularly come late in games. So that's curious to see where that goes. Obviously, though, Khris Middleton coming back, that's the biggest thing. We know it takes time to work in. Dame and Giannis have been clicking really well. Where does Khris fit in? That's a great question because let's be real, JR. He has not played a lot for Doc Rivers. The three of them have not played a lot for Doc Rivers. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in, how long it takes. And then finally, Brook Lopez, JR, I don't know what his raw block numbers are right now, but all defensive team level type stuff from Brook, I think. He's been really consistent all year long. And I think now that the offense has come along, maybe he'll get some more recognition because suddenly he's not as old anymore, shockingly, even though he's been doing the same stuff all year. So, you know how that stuff goes.
Yeah. 2.4 blocks per game for Brook Lopez thus far. He is an ageless wonder, as are you, Jim Owczarski. Thank you for joining me en route on your path to Boston. Of course, everything he has at jsonline.com, including following Khris Middleton coming back and this first game against the Celtics, followed by more NBA Cup action. It's coming our way again in a couple games on Tuesday. So stay tuned. Thank you, Jim. I will talk to you again soon.
Talk to you guys soon.